Sticking with our Black Ops franchise theme, we've done a lot of videos focusing on the Black Ops franchise. You guys seem to enjoy them, and it's a sub-series that has a very passionate community. But just how well do you know Black Ops history? Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. Today, we're going to take a trip through the first 5 games of the sub-series. I'm going to see if you actually remember all of these forgotten maps. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is the 10 maps from Black Ops history that you probably forgot existed. You let me know in the comments how many of these you actually do remember. Circle of Trust. Drop a like on the video and let's get started. At number 10, Convoy in Black Ops. We're going to start things off with an easy one, although if you don't remember the map, you're not going to remember any of these other ones. I just want to set you up. Convoy was a DLC map for the original Black Ops game that some of you may remember for the Easter egg that was hidden on some of the posters around the map. We actually covered it on my channel. Medium-sized map, set in the aftermath of the Soviet invasion of California, that resulted in collapsed roads, this interesting flanking route, yet urban areas, big orange rocket sitting in the middle of one of the streets, the bridge in the middle of the map. It resulted in a lot of interesting firefights and power struggles, but the main thing people remember is the poster I mentioned. Throughout the map, there are wanted posters featuring a real picture of a young Call of Duty fan named Raphael Angelini, I hope I said that right, who is being hunted down for the crime of pwning noobs. And the poster even includes a couple lines about him being an amazing Call of Duty player. There's also some hidden pictures around the map that revealed unreleased DLC maps, which I thought was a nice little touch. Call of Duty used to be really good about their multiplayer Easter eggs. At number 9, COD in Black Ops 2. Now, Black Ops 2 had some of the best maps in COD history. We can all agree on that. There's no doubt in my mind. Not only were the launch maps amazing, but the DLC maps were incredible as well. And I want you guys to remember throughout this video that just because a map is forgotten doesn't mean it's bad. Simply means the maps didn't really resonate with people the way the more popular ones did. COD was released as part of the Apocalypse DLC for Black Ops 2. It was one of the less popular maps in the game because of its larger size and many similarities to Drone, which was already one of the least popular maps in the game. But it wasn't bad. I mean, it had multi-layered architecture, could lead to some interesting moments, but at the end of the day, it didn't really shine with Black Ops 2's gameplay loop and mechanics, which is why people never voted it, which led to many people never playing it, which led to it being in this video because hardly anyone ever thinks about it anymore. So for what it's worth, I think POD is actually a better map than Drone, despite all the similarities. It's not the favorite, but it's good. Before we jump into number 8, guys, do me a favor. If you have been around me for a long time, if you kind of follow whatever I have going on other than this Call of Duty channel, go check out the Multiverse channel. Me and my friend Warren have launched a full-fledged podcast, weekly podcast that's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon, everywhere, where we talk about all the things in pop culture from Marvel to DC, Batman, Lord of the Rings, you name it. Stuff I'm really, really passionate about when it comes to movies and pop culture. So if you're into any of that, I would love to see you guys over there. I'll put a link at the top of the description. If you do come from this channel, let us know over there in the comment section. Now, number 8, Stockpile in Black Ops. A lot of Call of Duty maps take place in the middle of abandoned towns or buildings, and that can sometimes make them blur together a little bit. Stockpile was a solid map that was released for the original Black Ops as part of the Escalation DLC. But since it was yet another Call of Duty map that took place in the middle of an abandoned village, a lot of people looked right over it, and they didn't commit it to memory all these years later. The map was big, there was a lot of buildings for you to weave in and out of, and maybe you were the kind of player who stayed back near the back of the map, tried to snipe people who stepped out in the streets, and looking back at it, it was kind of like an alternate version of WMD, but obviously not nearly as good since WMD is a classic, and Stockpile is largely forgotten by modern COD players. I do remember the doors. I remember the doors that would actually open and close in this map, and if you were caught in their way, you would instantly get crushed to death. Can you imagine if the doors in the new Modern Warfare games actually worked like that? That would definitely spice things up just a little bit. At number 7, Detour in Black Ops 2. Released as part of the Vengeance DLC. It was set on top of a big bridge full of carts and busted roads. Thematically, it felt like something out of Modern Warfare 2 or 3. Visuals still hold up today, but the layout and the concept? Not very memorable compared to other DLC maps. Think about it. Black Ops 2 DLC maps had a skate park, a paintball field, a city being swallowed by lava, a Hollywood movie set, and many, many more. Then there was Detour, just kind of another Call of Duty map set in an urban war zone. Doesn't make the map bad, but it definitely made it less memorable, especially compared to all the crazy stuff Treyarch was cooking up and releasing alongside it. I mean, Detour, it was aesthetically kind of like Aftermath, which probably wasn't a good thing. I would love to erase Aftermath from my memory, so Detour probably got erased alongside it. At number 6, Frost in Black Ops 2. It's one of the final DLC maps released for Black Ops 2, and when compared to all the other awesome maps, I think Frost is one of the most forgettable because of the concept. It was simple. It takes place in the middle of a snow-covered European city, but the layout, it just wasn't anything to write home about. It wasn't even the best snow map in Black Ops 2. I would argue that title goes to Downhill, which was released a few months prior to Frost. There weren't many snow maps in the game, but Frost was never one that got any attention from people. I guess it was kind of cool to run around and blow things up in the middle of this quaint-looking little town. It was certainly an aesthetically pleasing map, but ultimately, if you're going to think about snow maps in Black Ops 2, you probably think about Downhill. You probably don't think about Frost. Now we arrive at the top 5. Rise in Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 DLC maps were solid. They were. There was a few really good ones and a bunch of decent ones, but basically all of them had this interesting concept that made them stand out from one another if they weren't the most amazing map to play on. With that said, Rise is the one that I completely forgot about until I looked at the list of Black Ops 3 maps in the Call of Duty Wiki. It was released as part of the Awakening DLC, took place in a construction site, which was interesting for a setting for a COD game, even if the Modern Warfare trilogy did it first, but the thing that kind of killed it was the fact that it took place right in the middle of the night. It was dark, meaning it was actually kind of hard to see all the unique things about the environment and commit them to memory. So sure, there was a bunch of construction-related set pieces around the map, but with the lighting being so dark, kind of just felt like another Call of Duty map taking place in a bunch of buildings. I remember it being okay. I mean, I forgot it existed until I made this video. At number 4, I have lots of memories of this map for some reason. There was a lot of snow maps in Black Ops 1, and that's part of the reason people, I guess, forget about Discovery. I mean, when you think about Black Ops 1 snow maps, you think about Summit, WMD, but Discovery often gets forgotten, especially since it was a DLC map that didn't really have a lot of unique features compared to the other, except for the Aurora Borealis or whatever lights in the sky, right? It's not to say it was bad. I liked it. Very frequently overlooked for the lack of flair, though. It was roughly based on the Project Nova mission from the campaign, took place on a base in Antarctica. Now that I think about it, I guess some of you may remember it for the Destructible Bridge, which was a cool little piece of interactivity for the map. I mean, had it going on, but it wasn't mind-blowing. Decent map, solid addition to Black Ops 1's lineup, but probably forgettable. At number 3, Lockup in Black Ops 4. Now, Black Ops 4 was extremely hit or miss due to the controversy surrounding the Black Ops Pass. Most of the community didn't bother with the DLC maps that weren't free. Lockup was a paid DLC map, released as part of the infamous Black Ops Pass in February of 2019. It took place during an attack on Los Angeles police stations. According to the in-game lore, it was supposed to be happening at the same time as the events of the casino map, which was released at the same time. It was definitely the more memorable of the two. So apparently Black Ops 4 is trying to tell a story with its multiplayer maps the way classic Overwatch did, but I don't think anybody was actually paying attention to that kind of stuff or caught on to it. I think I only ever played it a handful of times, and I remember it being okay, but it wasn't worth committing to my memory. There have been lots of Call of Duty maps set in contemporary urban settings, several of which were already in Black Ops 4 at the time of this map came out. So it didn't stand out. It just didn't. It wasn't bad, but I doubt many of you actually remember it. At number 2, Silo all the way back in the original Black Ops. A lot of you probably remember the classic Black Ops map, Launch, which was remade in Black Ops 4. But there was another rocket-themed map in the original Black Ops that not nearly as many people remember, and that was Silo, one of the last DLC maps released for the game. Interestingly, Silo was originally going to be a launch map, but it wasn't finished in time for the game's initial release, and then apparently it just kept getting pushed back until the final map pack it came out. Honestly, probably a good thing that it didn't launch with the game, because if it had, it would have been completely overshadowed by Launch. Similar to Launch, takes place around a missile launch. Pretty wide variety of set pieces, elevations, power positions, and a lot more. It was a fun map, had some personality traits with it, and the concept being similar to Launch, a lot of people forgot about it because we liked Launch. It was the better overall map, but still, it's a fun map. Hopefully at least a handful of you got to experience it. If you didn't play it back in the day, you're probably never going to get to. And at number 1 today, the most forgotten Black Ops map has to be Arsenal Sandstorm Black Ops 4. Treyarch did a bunch of map variants in Black Ops 4 that were basically just weather overhauls for existing maps, and most of them were perfectly fine. Heck, some were actually pretty awesome. The night version of Firing Range, sunset version of Seaside. But one of these weather variants was so bad. It was so hated. It was literally deleted from the game, and many of you may not have ever known it was in there. Arsenal Sandstorm, a variant of the launch map Arsenal, but in the middle of a giant sandstorm that heavily impacted your visibility and made it so you could barely see 10 feet in front of you. I have no clue why anybody thought this was a good idea, because obviously once the map came out, people realized the only way to succeed on this map where nobody could see was to sit in one place and camp for the entire match. The game flow, it was ruined. Quickly became one of the campiest maps in COD history. The backlash to Arsenal Sandstorm was so bad that less than 6 months after it was added to the game, Treyarch literally deleted it, so nobody would ever have to experience it again. So unless you were actively playing Black Ops 4 between April and September of 2019, you will never get to experience Arsenal Sandstorm. And trust me when I say, that's a good thing. And if you did have to play on the map, just know I share your pain. I wish I could forget this one altogether. And there you have it, my friends. Let me know one map that was forgettable, but that you didn't forget, and we forgot to put on the list. I'll see you soon.